here we have Keaton Marshman's list. Now, Keaton has actually been featured on the channel in the past, so he is a distinguished orc general, right? He is but I really like how he put together his list because he took some known archetypes and strength and cores of lists and then put them in there. A lot of things here were things I alluded to that would be strong, that we experimented with, that I said were a preference based, but then he also put a nice his own preference on top with a cherry. And I think this really pays off. And there's argument here that this might work in other detachments too. So if you ever come across Keaton or he leaves a comment, fill in the blanks where I miss it here and how this list works. But overall, very exciting. Now we have, starting off with the Freebooter crew, we have a beast bow. Sometimes a contentious piece, but here we have two big bricks of Snagga. So that goes hand in hand. They're amazing. Boss Snickrot, I still think even with WAAAGH around, we're going to see some Boss Snickrot. He just serves a different purpose, but we'll see how that goes. But he's a good old favorite at 75 points, like he should have always been, because he was way too overcosted before. Happy to see it. He ends up on very common lists. Then we have Gazgulthraka, as me and Mork Perry were speaking about when he was in here. We were chatting live. It's really, 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 really difficult to pass up on Gaz right now. He just plays such a pivotal role, so I definitely think he's going to be on most of your list. Then we have the Pain Boy with Bionic Workshop. Excellent ability here for 15 points. It is random, but it functions. You can end up getting a War Boss and a Pain Boy in one to a degree, right? Because he doesn't punch as good as a War Boss, but you get similar buffs. So you make him faster, that which would be very important in this detachment. You can auto advance 6, or you can just make them hit more accurately, still have the Pain Boy feel no pain, or just the strength. And sometimes that does come up right now in the meta where things have gotten a little tougher. So then we go to the Zagrot Wartsnagga. Love to get. We all know enough said about him. Now, what's really interesting about that, well, now that I've told you the character leaders that are leading this WAAAGH, we have two 20-man bricks Naga. Not just that. We have a 20-man unit of boys, but we just mentioned we have Zod. 4 mobs, quote unquote, big bricks orc unit. I've seen Green Tide lists with less mobs than that, right? So this has the minimum what we consider Green Tide, 60 boys in the unit. Then you throw Zod, who kind of acts as like a boy unit but faster, and then and it doesn't use transports, etc. But he has 2 10-man units of boys as well. So this is just pure body volume horde style list. Yet he brought a battle wagon, 2 of them, 2 battle wagons, both had RKs. One had a cannon, one had a zap gun. Might just be what he had WYSIWYG, cool. I like the zap, but that means both of these 20-man units of Snaggas can each go inside of wagons. You have Gas and the Pain Boy on foot staging up with the 20 boys, and then you have Zagrot Wartsnagga staging up in a different position as well, right? So very strong, fast delivery, and then continual momentum with these mobs on when you can just call more wall, right? So you can call your primary wall, make contact with all the other units with all your 20 Snagga mobs, and then bring in Gaz as a follow-up mob and just keep going. Plus, you're not up there as well when you declare the full wall. So it's good speed, good staging, and it's your profile of your whole army as a whole. But 2 minimum size units of Gretchen, no way you can let people get in your backfield with this list. Very important. 10-man unit of Ugdamando. And he took all of the war gear options. Yes, he doubled up on the custom shooter, burner. He took the burner, breacher ram, a rocket, and the power claw. Beautiful to see. Nice to split those kind of units up, and very important to have infiltration here. And then 3 5-man units of Storm Boys just for scoring, again, for their speed, utility. They can stage in different places and still get where they need to go without getting in the way of your wagons or exposing yourself. Keep in mind, there's always a chance that you just don't have anything embarked initially in the wagons, and then the 5-man Storm Boys can be inside of there and they can jump out and participate, or they can auto advance 6, or you can have 10 boys in there and 5 Storm Boys if you don't want to commit all of them. So if you can stage up safely enough and get back embarked in this, you can have both wagons with just 5 Storm Boys and 10 boys in each one, and then they jump out, boom, that's your first wave along with your Mandos, touching, try to stage up on natural expansion, try to tag it, stage up into the best fighting positions, or to screen out the enemy from running through there and making contact with you first. Bandos out, 10-man boys are better at skirmishing than like a stupid Storm Boy unit, so the commandos out there, they can run out and do secondaries as well with the extra speed from coming out of the wagon, and then all of the dudes can get inside of it, and then the battle wagon moves forward, right? So that's the leapfrogging thing here. And so everything can be quite staged up, yet gain at additional movement and staging and speed from how you have these units embarked. So as much as that you're thinking a mob in your head, this is very you can very much see how this is getting deployed in the game, right? Someone in chat right now is saying on layout one this would be nasty, right? Layout one, Storm Boys advance to the natural. Exactly, they can advance charge to the enemy's natural. They can auto advance, or they can be in the wagon and still do the same thing. So they're even closer. So if they have a reactive move or something, you're like, I could still reach you. You might not want to do it. Your Storm Boys might suck at combat, but they don't know that. And with how the ability works now is I can choose theirs. So the Storm Boys can act more as little missiles, and the 10-man unit of boys can act as little missiles now. Sweet. Or you could play late game, have 10-man unit of boys staying back, coming in, they declare a wall, jump into a fight. But usually Gas is going to be nasty as well. I think I summarized at least how this on paper would be deployed and put together, and the game state would work kind of, I wouldn't say obvious, but you're playing with mob that's coming with transports and staging. So you're going to get in your skirmishes with your small units, try to stage up with your battle wagons, disembark, call a wall, make contact with double your, you have to make contact with both. I would say both, but maybe you could keep one back. But the thing is, you have to be on a objective, call the wall, and I don't think the Snaggers would be out, right? So in theory, I think Gaz can actually choose to hang back while you throw the other ones forward, and then he comes in and deals with the enemy's response to cleaning up all of your other snagger units. So I would assume you have to make contact when you declare your primary wall with Zod and both 20-man unit of snaggers. Sounds like a lot, but not necessarily. When you think about how War Horde generally wants to do that as well in its fights, or Green Tide, and or if you don't make contact with one of the snaggers, of course, Gaz himself could end up very fast because the Bionic Workshop. So he could end up being 2 inches faster on his boy unit, auto advance 6, make good contact, and then you could be knowing this, had disembarked your snagger unit, staged it, touching an objective, and then your natural, and then you'll declare that one and you'll launch pad off that one. Not sure because I haven't ran this archetype to this max max lethality stat potential, but this got me very excited for a freebooter crew, kind of moving away from all of the shooting that would typically be seen on freebooters, because now I'm just going to pick an objective, run over there, smash you, and then now that I'm there, I'm going to call wall again and continue this momentum. So I love that, because that's the one thing about also with you're playing with the mobs is you're like, well, I'll run out of momentum. You're going to keep calling a wall, you're not going to run out of momentum so easily. Setting up a game of Warhammer 40K can be a hassle, but it doesn't have to be. I want to highlight the best battle mat I've ever used. At 40K, grid measuring mat with present battle lines for every official deployment zone, including the upcoming additions. Whether you're setting up for Crucible of Battle, Search and Destroy, it can only take a couple of minutes to get everything dialed in and ready to go. For us orc players, the grid is a total game changer. Each square is an exact 1 inch, so it's super easy to maintain unit coherency with big mobs, maintain aura ranges, or pile-ins. It also helps remove all those finicky measuring movements like checking charges or small within 6 inches movements, because you can simply count the squares and keep the game flowing. On top of that, it makes the game easier with table quarters and positioning for secondaries. I've been using it for months, and it genuinely makes the game better, smoother for both players. If you want to upgrade your setup and support the channel, check out the affiliate link in the description. Upgrade your game and support the Great War with lighter, creative 40K grid mats. So let's look at his path to victory real quick and go over all his matchups to get a better idea of the context, and then we'll move on to the voting, honorable mention. Sorry about that. So I just showed his list. Let's move to his game one. Like I said, he didn't lose till his last. This is what we want to see, that 4-0 start. And chat seems pretty good about that. The movement shenanigans, yeah, awesome. This guy said he's a mini marine with the leagues of Voltaire. So he has double evaluators, so they're going to do your taxes. Stormbrow, and then Uthor, the destined to get crumb. The little carrier unit, 2 big bricks of the Thunderkin Zerkers, but these have the beam, and then 2 3-man units with the blast cannon. So somewhat of a threat to the fingers, but not really, in my opinion. Let's see. Only 1 unit of the 5 Zerkers with a minimum size unit of the Earth Shakers, followed by double land fortresses, double pioneers, and double Jaegers with triple, with these all melee? Yeah. Triple iron steel jacket melees. Ooh. So he's just trying to meet you in the middle and bang it out. I call it Ironkin. Ironkin, Steeljack. I didn't remember what these guys do a while, but I'll pull it up anyways to make sure I'm accurately depicting what they do. But Leagues of Votann is one of those armies that they have all the infiltration and they want to make contact to you right there in the mid table. They're not very fast, but they are combined arming you in a very dangerous way. So Steel Jackets, T2, 2 up armor save, 3 wounds a pop. These guys were melee and they had but there's only like 3 dudes in a unit. Okay, 1 steel. Okay, 2 to 5 steel jack. There. So they're 3-man units or 6-man units. So these were all little 3-man units, more like elite infantry. And it looks like, did he bring different weapons? I'm checking that he had all the same ones. So he had. Do they still get the bolter? No, that's what. Oh, that must be their sergeant, huh? So they get 6 attacks on the plasma sword, strength 6, -2, and then the concussive gauntlets are only 3 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 10, -2 damage. So they're wounding very well against the boys, but they're not hitting very well. Low amount of attacks. And if you're on an objective, something they can get like a critical ability. Either way, they're more like an anti-vehicle / slowing thing. So they're not really that big of a threat to the mob here. So how he developed his list with the steel jacks, with the Jaegers, land fortresses, is at some point those land fortresses are coming forward. Like they have to play the mid table. He doesn't have a lot of really strong units that are going to come forward in any other way. Like berserkers would be another way where these guys will get in the skirmish, get some of your orc assets out, and drop their terminators or the thunderkin behind them, shoot you, and then charge. And this way, not so. 95-point win there. Leagues, once you make contact with them, you just keep crashing into them. Luckily, he has good speed here, a lot of bodies. The gas lethal would help with the high toughness that these armies have, and having more walls and Zod would definitely be awesome deal. All these little, storm boys running around. Now you're not going to kill those Jaegers because they're T6 necessarily with your storm boys, so might need some help there, or just in general, just putting them in a pinch because I think they have a built-in reactive also, like I was talking about earlier with the staging part. Then we go into a second game with the Adit God. Okay, I was like, yeah, this is Death Guard, right? Because he has double great unclean ones, a malignant plague cluster, and then a Rotagus. So he's playing that just big boy version of Death Guard. He has a 5-man unit of Plague Marines, double Plague Bears, a Chaos Spawn, and then triple of the new Defilers. It looks like he did pick different versions though of the new Defiler, so he didn't have just the spam the same version over and over. So this guy was coming out to the event to just take advantage of his ultra cheap, very not reasonably placed Defilers, points costed Defilers. Did he have the same weapons? Destructor. No, see, this guy has Electro Scourge. He doesn't have the auto cannon. So these guys have Magna Cutters instead, which are more like Melta weapons. And okay, so if you had the auto cannon again is only about 4 shots there. I'm trying to see if anything has like a ton of volume here. I mean, their strikes have sustained, one of their strikes, their extra attacks have sustained 2, because, we've seen how nice that was, and GW hated it, but hey, give it to these guys. Sweeping Claws, 10 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 6, -2, 1 damage. Solid. Boys, if you have Feel No Pains, that can kind of help offset that. This is where you'd be grateful, have some Bushnaggers alongside gas to try to help blend these guys down. Yeah, these guys are way too cheap for 250. So silly. Yeah, so if you're really dreading, I would love to see what this mission was, right? If you're really dreading, like we say, hull spam, vehicle heavy kind of things, that's why the Green Tide just comes in. This isn't a Green Tide army, but that archetype of bringing a lot of boys from a freebooter crew. You're going to make contact with them quickly. You're going to have Gaz continuously being a big, tough problem where he can kill stuff and just keep following, and the enemies has to keep committing to him to really get him out, or he's going to keep killing their units. These armies want to play on the objective, right? Great unclean ones are pretty obvious what they want to do. They're going to go stand there, crump them, right? Thanks. We freebooter. That's our objective. Bam, smash into them. We're on the mid table. Now Defilers have to commit. We're auto-seeing them. They're getting debuffs from being in combat, possibly. So as much as you get highly intimidated by this, the practicality of how this game plays out is these guys have to play the mid table based off the primary mission and how their armies, their favorite models cost so many points. Now he can, if he's smart, try to slow you with like Plague Bears and play the sticky game and stuff like that. But that's why you have your 10-man units of boys that can run up. Gaz can activate his wall, and then he can lethal to help offset the fight. Or the boys will just reroll wounds into Plague Bears and beat them up pretty well and offset that fight so they win. So the enemy still doesn't get primary and you do. But because of how high the score was, I think the enemy just kind of was like, I don't know what to do here, and just went for it. And Keaton just met him in the mid table and crushed with OC and with all the bodies. Because imagine you have the Snaggle rerolling wounds, then Snaggle can reroll wounds from the CP. They can get sustain, then they can do lethal from gas, have sustain as well. Then so they re-roll the hit roll into lethal and sustain. It is on sixes, but then they're really rolling the whole wound roll. Yeah. So even one of those 20-man units of Snaggas that didn't have a character is still crumping pretty hard. This was against the Tau Empire in Montcar. So we have Shadow Sun, Acryl, a Twin Lance, only one, okay, and that was Acryl Warp Shaper. Big unit of broadside battle suits, Ghost Keel, Carnivore, double units of Kroot Hounds, Pathfinders, Piranhas, Tide, so 3 units of triple Riptides, small unit of battle suits, and a Vespit. So a good amount of points on the Triptide, and a big unit of the broad suits for Commando Shadow Sun. I'd like to know what mission this is. Again, all those movement shenanigans we talked about, how you're gonna jump out of transports, auto advance, whatever, staging up. This is very, and you're gonna have the Mandos. Very important when you're playing Tau, because Tau love to just simply throw trash, make screens, drop in deep strikes, hold lines of fire, and then just let you commit to his screens, and then blast you off the table and score end at the end of the game. So very important to have those great wagons for transporting, auto advancing 6. You can call a wall again, so you can continue momentum and crash into the next line of units. The jumping out of transports is going to be important for the Storm Boys and the 10-man units of boys, Sticky, and then just a bunch of OC. So I would love to see how this actually played out in real time. But usually it's a hyper aggressive style is exactly what you need to deal with Tau. And this list definitely brings that. So we go into his 4th game, which is Black Templars. Okay, well, somebody's making some results with Black Templar. Shout out to that get. We have Castellan, Grimaldus, Empress Champion, Hellbrick, Lieutenant with Combi, and a Marshal. One small unit of Soul Intercessors, a 10-man unit, 2 bricks of Crusaders. That's pretty sick. That would be sick to see on the table, though, right? You guys know that would be awesome to see. Just big Crusader mob. Like, we're going to get into crumping, right? They're going to get crumped by those boys. We have Intercessors, 1 Repulsor Executioner, and a Scout. So solid, like a little bit of solid gun support. They have great like built-in rerolls on him, so that's awesome. And they're really threatening on an Overwatch. Again, I love these matchups he's getting. Hyper focused on characters here. And also ultimately these bodies, none of these type of bodies are really threatening to boys, especially on the wall with gas and all our other buffs, especially when you have Snaggas, where even they're already just baseline stronger than they need to be for all these Marines outside of the wall as well. So as the fight continues, they're still killing them if they're still alive. But they also have the Snagga buff, so they can pull down the vehicle, so he has to still respect them. And then gas just running through. So all in this, remember, there's a 20-man unit of Snaggas with no character on that list that they still have to account for, as well as Zagrat, Wartsnagga getting fights, tar pitting units, distracting any kind of fights first shenanigans. So this unit army has tools, but when you have that many bodies and tool speed, you get the initiative, and you can continue the momentum, which is what's coming out to be the best part of Freebooters. You can start overcoming some of these matchups that we're looking at today, but very, very low score with the 42. So I would like to see what the mission was. We don't have all the context. Hopefully Keaton sees this and lets it know one day. Now we get to the final list of a game where he actually ends up losing this. No shame, no foul. He still scored very well. 77 for a loss. Nothing bad about that. So awesome. And I'm pretty sure that Nicholas was the person who won. Yep, there we go. So Nicholas ended up winning that. And ended up getting good points anyway. So he was playing Packbound Zealots. I'm pretty sure that it's just, yeah, so it's just Defilers. Not just, sorry, but double Defilers, a Chosen Brick, some Bikers, a Rhino, Abaddon, Huron, and Cypher. So it's kind of, isn't Huron that little jetpack guy? So it's kind of cool, I guess. And you have Ashtor. Sorry, Ashtor. So I don't mean to sound rude, but Packbound Zealot is very brutal right now, in a funny way, and the army just kind of can stand there and murk you. So there's a good chance that how this game played out was just high volume. You're pack bounding, you're getting yourself stains, you're re-rolling, you're getting a large amount of volume. Even Venom Crawlers can end up going off and popping off with this, and they have the right profiles of strength 6 -1, 2 damage in that as well. on top of all of the little bikers. So he does still can still be approached in a really aggressive way. And that's definitely true. Also, the sheer amount of damage when he is exposed, depending on the mission, the deployment, what's going on, pretty devastating. Very reliable for most cases for like popping wagons as well. But he did a good job. Bikers having good ability to kind of screen out a little bit, and then the Rhino, they're me throwing some cultists forward, and then Cypher messing up your stratagems. So trying to do the wall multiple times might become harder, or doing the setup you want, like re-rolling wounds or auto advancing 6 to get in position. These things can become less reliable anyways. But he did a great job with a 77-point loss. So nothing to be ashamed at. That guys, they just got all the firepower, and you got to work a lot harder than them to get that W as an orc player. So shout out to Keaton and his freebooter crew. He got 2 20-man units of Snaggas. Like I've said, guys, I've said this. I'm not trying to take credit. Like, it was my idea because it wasn't the fact. But you can play 20-man units of Snaggas without a character. In general, you can play multiple 20 I'm sorry, I meant 20-man units Snaggas without a character. And you can play multiple units of Snaggas alongside boys and then Zod to act as stronger mobs with built-in feel no pains. Instead of just paying all the points for characters, you're just straight up paying for the stats, and then that allows you to open up some of your other cap for the transports to still get Gaz, like the most important characters of Zod, Gaz, and Snickrout right now. The Pain Boy is very, very important for the Bionic Workshop. It goes a long way in this detachment. And then the 3 Storm Boy units for all the mobility. So fantastic. Love it, Keaton. It was a great idea, great innovation with Freebooter crew. And hopefully it takes the wall a long way for the rest of the edition.
If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!